Hello everybody, it is me, Pacific. Okay folks, the video you've all been waiting for. People just can't handle it when I do too many videos without talking about the subject of women. Okay, so some new thoughts. A compilation of things I've said in bits and pieces along the way, but let's make a video wholly dedicated to this one. Women are not goddesses. Why do we even have to say that? Tune in, and you'll quickly understand. Do you notice how the Pope, the Catholic Church, says the Pope is infallible? That means he's perfect, right? Have you noticed that specifically in America, when is the last time you've heard a woman say 2 words? I'm sorry. In relationships, when something goes wrong, 99.9% of the time, women blame everybody else but themselves. I see this play out in traffic every day. Women cut me off, women run my stop sign. I get a few of their license plates, and they never say, yeah, I did it. They've got an excuse. Oh, I didn't see it. You didn't see a big yellow bus, and you looked right at me when I honked the horn. I do remember that. Lady, if you can't see a big yellow bus, probably not a good idea that you're driving. But we want to talk about this. We want to talk about this whole thing because I've been in 3 relationships. Maritally speaking, all 3 of those women could never, ever, and to date, 2 of them cannot admit they were ever wrong or guilty of sin. I have watched women whose children have grown up to be complete messes, and she is systematically blamed. In the case of me personally, but not just me, many others, blamed the ex-husband. And yet there are those few unsung, unheard of women to raise children all alone, and the children turn out just fine. How come they did it better? Because some people believe that no matter what happens in life, that we're the ones that can make a difference for the better. How come when it comes to relationships, whenever a relationship goes south, it's more often than the male, the woman plays the victim. The woman will hold on to the grudge, the woman will have an axe to grind, and it's always the man's fault. I've noticed systematically, and this is a generalization, I've noticed that when women do something wrong in traffic and I honk at them, they either do one of 2 things. Pretend they don't hear or see you, which is classic female childishness, or they'll glare right at you as if though you are the offender. Where did this idea that women are infallible and incapable of wrongdoing come from? I don't know. I honestly try to search it out. Is it from the media? I don't know. I've also noticed it seems that women tend to lie more than men, tend to be more dishonest, hide things. But let's give some real statistics. I've read online that women outspend men in a huge margin, and the shopping malls and the retail consumer-driven economy knows this. And what are women's spending habits on? Is it gifts for others? No, it is for themselves. Even among Christian women, evangelical Christian women, they say, well, women are just different than men. when you try to explain to them that they don't need 30 pairs of shoes, or in the case of Imelda Marcos, 3,000 pairs of shoes. I was married to a wife who had, I counted them, 100 sweaters that did not include t-shirts, jackets, and all the other stuff. I said, you have too much. I'm a woman, you wouldn't understand, you're a guy. Back to the infallibility default mode. I'm a woman, therefore everything I do makes sense. The other thing that is very telling, and let's go back to that consumer spending. When I watch women in a shopping mall, more stores cater to women's narcissism than do males. Did you know that? You go into a mall, and I want you to count the number of stores that cater solely to men, contrasted to women. Victoria's Secret, Pink, most of the clothing stores, all your cosmetics. And what I find even more interesting is most of the cosmetics that I do see, really unnecessary. Women don't even think about the amount of money they spend on some skin cream or foundation. I, as a man, will walk into a store and look at the prices on these things and go, you've got to be kidding me. $80 for a little jar that big of something. I think, boy, that's clever. Clever marketing. Other than vice or stupidity, I don't know too many men that will go in and pay $80 for a little jar of something, unless it's drugs. But regarding infallibility, let's talk about looks. Women generally tend to think they're hot looking when they're not, more than guys. Women, even if they've let their bodies go, and I'm going to be blunt, to the point of being disgustingly obese, not pretty, and they still think they're God's gift to men. I ask myself over and over, where did all this come from? I don't know. Men are called pigs, and yet men notice women. Men want to be with women. Men give women attention, but women seldom give men attention unless it's revolving around their income level. Or in the rare case that a woman actually loves a man for who the man is, not what he makes, not his position in life. I got on a dating site because somebody yesterday strongly recommended it. I will see how it goes. You basically look at photos and rate them. You don't leave long dialogues or messages. You build a little profile. It takes you about 15 minutes. Of course, the women that I rated as decent looking looked at my site and quickly disappeared. They see school bus driver at the bottom, or any number of things, and they're out of there. Women tend to feel more entitled than men. Women tend to elevate themselves on a pedestal more than men. Oh yes, we have cocky guys. We do. But I find it interesting that when you tally up all these different things, that women cannot say I'm sorry, as a general rule. That women's spending habits on self-oriented spending far exceeds males, and the consumer economic engine in America realizes that. When women cannot admit they're wrong, when women really, and this was what a woman at work the other day told me. Black woman said, Do you know I read something? Do you know what kind of photos women like? And I said, well, I don't know. And she goes, ones of their selves. Did you know selfies is becoming the new rage? Some idiot held a gun up to his head to take a picture of himself, accidentally pulled the trigger and shot and killed himself to take a selfie. Way to go, dude. You get the Star of the Year award for dumbness. Men have been watching this go on and on and on, and now we have a generation of little, punk boys that are becoming sissies. I mean sissies. On Facebook every single day, leaving cutesy little comments, drawing attention to themselves, and I've noticed a trend. I've noticed a lot of little boys today getting piercings, tattoos on Facebook, and it suddenly has dawned on me. Women have become their own temple religion through the medium of Facebook. Look at me, look at me, look at the food I ate, look at my cute dog, look at me, look at me. And yes, I saw this dynamic in the Philippines. And I hate to say this. But when I spent hours in a village of Miagao looking at water-stained photo album after photo album after photo album of Beth, and look at me, I'm cute here, look at me, I'm cute here. I'm like, here's a picture of Beth in a truck, here's a picture of Beth on a bench, here's a picture of Beth in a fountain, here's a picture of Beth in the harbor in Singapore and Hong Kong. And it was endless. And as I sat there trying to be polite, trying to realize this is a different culture than mine, another picture began to emerge. Wow, women are really self-centered. Even this woman who was born in a humble village went to Singapore, went to Hong Kong, and on her day off, all she wants to do is exalt herself. People will take issue with what I have to say. They will say, Pacific, you're being absolutely rude. No, I'm not. How many men do you see standing around taking pictures of themselves? I see men more action-oriented. I'm going to get my Jeep, go up to the mountains. I'm going to go mud wheeling, or I'm going to go rock climbing. Seldom do they bring their cameras. I'm going to tell you something. If you really want to interpret any woman's post on a dating site, look at her photos. If she has a Facebook and she gives it to you, look at her photos on Facebook. Yeah, they're stupid guy pictures, him holding his beer can, but you usually see a guy doing something or standing with other people. Look at a woman's picture. It's a picture of a woman with a half shirt, a tube top, no shirt. Yes, you know who I'm talking about. But not just one. When Pacific has had pictures of himself, most of my pictures are me with people or me doing something. People don't learn to read photos. They look at the beauty and go, ah. Okay, one photo can't tell you a lot, but when you have a series of pictures, what's the common denominator? No background. It's me. And then if you look at the pictures closely and look at what they're wearing, they're definitely drawing attention to their body. Nobody wants to be seen as dowdy. Nobody wants to be seen as a dud. Of course, some women that are dowdy don't care. I couldn't believe how many pictures on this dating site were Hispanic women showing their busts. Virtually every single one of the Hispanic women show their breasts. And black women. And white women. Women have made themselves their own temple religion. You can get on Facebook and like them. One of the reasons they've been successful at pulling this off is because men play right into their hands. Look at any video on YouTube. Any video on YouTube where there's a pretty woman involved, even if the video is stupid, flaky, and dumb, and look at the number of views. It goes straight up. I'm not going to name other channels, but there's channels out there I've watched. I'm like, there's no substance to this. This is typical girl flake stuff. But because she's good looking, the views far exceed mine. People say, are you jealous? I wish I could get the views, but I know why they're viewing it. It certainly isn't because it has substance. Because she's dressed in a skimpy shirt and everybody's getting eye candy. Everybody knows, including women, that when a good-looking woman walks by, all those men are going to notice. Women have finally learned to manipulate that and work it for their own personal selfish pleasure. When you go to the front end of most American businesses and you have a drop-dead gorgeous woman at the front desk dressed inappropriately, you have to ask, what was this company thinking? They know what they were doing. They know that every man that goes out of there is going to remember that business based on that hottie at the front desk. So has it come to a point where women literally worship and exalt themselves in American culture? Absolutely. Women have become a religion in the United States. To men's credit, at least men are thinking of women. But how many women are really thinking of others? When you look at the sexes and you look at things, men have their problems, and we've talked about that. I am in no way exempting males from their share of stupid, dumb behavior and sins. But I'm focusing on women here because I've seen it in my break room. I've watched it in our society as a whole. Women are responsible for the biggest lion's share of problems. Women competing against men, women being combative to men, women that cannot and will not and flat out refuse to look at themselves. I know a woman right now who has systematically ruined our son. Let a 21-year-old move in the house who smokes pot, who drinks, who smokes, who's bisexual. And then when I went to the attorney, we found out through a faithful viewer of mine in Michigan, both my son and this person's Facebook comments and habits. Then she was horrified and crying and never came to me and apologized. The attorney made it expressly clear, you need to get this young man out of the house and away from your son. Oh, I know. Within 1 week, the kid was out of the house, moved in his own apartment. Ex-wife was letting my son stay overnight. Pacific, why didn't you get involved? She has primary custody. I'm going to tell you something, men. Who are most likely to get restraining orders? Women. I'm going to tell you something about a restraining order that was interesting. There's a lady that started at work. She owns her own townhome. She came to me the other day. She wasn't at work one day, and she was supposed to call me last weekend and didn't. And I just thought, well, whatever. She goes, I took a little vacation. She admitted to me she was in jail. I said, what? She came home to her house and locked the door, and her ex was in there. The ex who got a restraining order against her. She goes, so I called the police immediately. She said the police showed up and arrested me. I said, wait a minute, he's got a restraining order against me and this is my house. The police said, well, he claims to live here. You're not supposed to be anywhere near him. So guess what? If you've got a restraining order against you and you live in your own property and that person just goes in, even though he's not on the title and it's not his house, she was arrested. 99% of the time, a restraining order works against the male. This is the first time I've seen it work against a female. She was appalled. I said, what I would do is change the locks on your door. And I'd do it immediately. Restraining orders were for the intended purpose to keep men from harming women. Now women get them just on perceptions alone. He's verbally abusing me. Verbally abused. Let's redefine that. He raised his voice and got mad because you were flat out antagonizing, smarting off, and provoking him. And he raised his voice, and that's verbal abuse. I went through that with the ex-wife of 14 years. Let me tell you what has transpired, okay? Let me tell you what has transpired with this ex. We were supposed to meet on a Sunday at 1 o'clock p.m. And I said, I came over on a Saturday, had a hard talk with my son, told him I was very disappointed with his behavior with that young man and him disrespecting me. And he kept saying, Dad, I don't want to have this conversation. I really want to be with my friend today. The friend who the attorney made it very clear to her that she needs to end that. I said, I'm not even comfortable with you hanging out with this person. Right now we need to talk because you say that I never spend enough time with you and you're always telling me you don't have time to talk. And clearly his mind wasn't there. And I was up against a wall because of primary custody issues, and I was in her home. This is after a restraining order has been dismissed because she had no choice. She was in the wrong for filing it. I wanted to update my viewers on this because this is important for women to listen up. Women, when you do these things, you don't build yourself any credibility. I said, okay, we meet at 1 o'clock Sunday. Are we all in agreement? Yes. Oh, that's perfect. I said, fine. Tomorrow, son, you come, and I don't want to hear that you want to do this, do that. We need to have a meeting. Yes, Dad. Yes, Dad. Sunday morning comes way before 1 o'clock, early a.m. I get a text message. Oh, sorry. Not going to be able to do this today. They didn't end up going together, son and friend, and they're going to do it today instead. And I called back and I said, absolutely not. Today is 1 o'clock or no deal. She didn't call. She didn't do anything. No meeting. I didn't hear from her for over a week. I left it alone. She calls me or texts me on a Thursday, can you take our son to the police station for the interview? I said, I can't. I have to work that day and that hour. I am driving routes. And I said, and I've got to be honest with you, I want nothing to do with this. She writes me back. She goes, I thought you were going to help me on this. I called. She didn't answer. I said, you blew a 1 o'clock appointment. I've heard no apology. Nothing. I said, you felt it was priority for our son, who you're constantly complaining about failing, constantly complaining about getting into trouble, constantly complaining that he's hit you, struck you, isn't obeying and respecting you, and you found it priority to let him go off with this bad boy punk instead of being with Dad so that you and I could, as you said, you wanted us to be a united front. You have not shown any united front, and I said, I want nothing to do with this. She texts back saying, I'm glad you got everybody to agree with you. I called her and I said, I did not get everybody to agree with me. I said, this is also legal counsel, and I told people what happened, and they told me to stay away from you. Women like that are the ones that are dangerous. If I were to show up to the house again, who's to say she wouldn't try to get a restraining order again? I'm not stupid. So hangs over my head every day for another 3 years is a woman who is always going to trouble me. Not try to find a solution, not solve the problem, not look at herself, but always project, project, project. I got a text message this week. Now, mind you, last weekend was Labor Day weekend, 3 days off. Saturday, I get a text message. Are you going to pitch in, or how much can you pitch in for son's laptop? I didn't answer it. I called the phone. She picked up and hung up. I called again. It went to a voicemail message I never heard before. The voicemail box for this number is full. So, yeah, right. I thought, I'm not going to buy him a laptop. He's been failing. He's been messing around, and he totally dishonored me with this friend punk kid of his. No way. I don't owe him that. And for what? So he can do online school because he's been getting in trouble with school so much that they felt it would be better. Now, mind you, she's drinking and going to bars and going to concerts and then telling me she's going to have to file bankruptcy. And this is a woman who had $200,000 inheritance plus a $100,000 house plus a new car. And if any of that is true, from our divorce in 2007, she has spent and wasted all of that money on mostly her own foolishness. Women are using men. Women want to hold men accountable for everything, but women don't want to hold themselves accountable. She has single-handedly destroyed my son. After getting counsel with many, they said I would not go to that house. I would not go over there. So I had to change my number again this week. Tuesday, I get a text message the day after Labor Day. Son is failing. I cannot do this anymore. We need to make a meeting. I will not text back. I will not do written record anymore. I called. Of course, she didn't answer the phone. While I'm leaving the voicemail, can't talk. I'm at work. You can't talk when you're not at work. I said, hey, I want nothing to do with this. You blew the appointment. You felt it was necessary for him to hang around this friend that started this whole ball of wax. I said, my involvement with you got a restraining order and a court case, which cost me lots of money to deal with. You don't take it as priority of me and you trying to deal with the problems of our son. Please don't involve me with this. I am not buying him a laptop. He failed school. He disrespected me. I'm not going to reward him by that. I said, stop texting me, stop calling me, do not come onto the property and leave notes in the mailbox or on my truck. And I said, if you don't stop bothering me, I will get in that red pickup of mine and I will move so far out of state, it's not even funny. I changed my number. This time, no more. I use this as a personal illustration because I hear story after story like this. Let me tell you about the woman in the break room in the last week. The one who said my hair looks like SHIT last spring. Exact words. Hispanic woman, covered in tattoos, shows her cleavage on a regular basis. Got some rectangular 3 stars in a row, dumb-looking earring stuck on her upper lip. This is a woman who thinks she's got it all together and is so good looking and is always commenting on my hair. She has no interest in me in any way, shape, or form, but women feel the need to comment. I'm not done telling you what happened. Let me add an insert here. I was standing apart from somebody, the boss, waiting to talk to her and chatting with somebody, and another driver comes through, says, excuse me, as she makes bodily contact, drags her purse across my chest, and I mean roughly crashes into me. And I thought, wow, that was rude. You didn't even say excuse me and give me a chance to move. She said it as she's crashing into me. Then she comes back through and says, you know, you're kind of standing in the way. That's why I banged into you. And I didn't respond. The other day, she was at the cubbyhole mailboxes for the drivers, and I sideswiped her gently, and she goes, hey, what's all that? And I said, I'm just doing what you did the other day. She goes, well, you were standing in the way. I said, you didn't even give me a chance to move, and you saw that I was talking to somebody. Well, you saw me coming. I said, no, I was actually focused on the conversation. I said, you know, if a guy had come and done that, he would have been in trouble. She goes, whatever. I said, no, not whatever. I said, that was rude. So back to the woman with the hair deal. She made several comments in the last 2 weeks, of which I ignored. You need to cut your hair, Mike. You need to cut your hair. Finally, one day I turned around and said, no, I don't need to cut my hair, ma'am. I'm not here to please you. You're not my girlfriend. You're not my wife, and you need to stop. Well, I'm just saying, I said, you don't have a right to tell me. And I walked away. The very next day I was sitting at the table, and she, on her own volition, went off. Hey, why were you a smart ass to me? I said, I was not. I said, did you stop and think about the rude comment you made last spring saying my hair looks like SHIT? I did not say that. I said, oh, yes, you did. And you even went on to say, how do you think you're going to get a girlfriend when your hair looks like that? I said, you were so out of line. This is the same girl who wrote up a black individual who came up to her and told her, I don't think it's appropriate for a woman, a lady, to have tattoos on herself. That's all he said. She was so offended, she wrote up a complaint. He was called in the office. Men cannot say to women truthful things, but women can say things that are not only not truthful, but rude, hurtful, and inappropriate, and management doesn't do a thing. Now, granted, I didn't go file a complaint on her. She made such a scene in front of herself that even other people at the table, one of the women said, what is your problem? I said, I'm done with this conversation. Good, I am too. Another woman asked her, what is the matter with you today? Oh, I'm sick of this SHIT, and all this profanity came out of her. You know, he's going to smart ASS me like that. I'll be a BITCH right back to him. And I thought, I went up and I wrote up a complaint at the computer. I already sent it to my supervisor. Later that day, I saw her sitting at the table. I said, hey, can we go outside and talk for a minute? Yeah. And I even took the road of trying to be conciliatory, and I said, look, I said, I think you're misunderstanding something. I said, you have been affecting me by your comments about my hair. I said, you did say that last spring. She goes, I honestly don't. I said, my ears don't lie. I said, I may have reacted a little bit harsh to you the other day, but I said, I'm tired of it. I said, you said this how many times when we came back to in-service, and you didn't bother to look at my body language, that I ignored you. When a woman is clearly ignoring me, I pick up on that and take my cues from that, and you kept, every day you see me, you need to cut your hair. I said, did it dawn on you I'm tired of that? Well, I just think you'd look better. I said, you're missing the point. Not once did she apologize or back up. I said, I don't want any friction between us. I said, I've actually kind of liked you, and you know that. I don't care for the tattoos and piercings and the weight that she's gained, but I did like her as a person. But the good thing about spending time with people in a work setting is give it enough time and you'll see things that go, my gosh, can you imagine being in a relationship with this girl? It would be ugly. This is what she says. Well, I don't know if we can be friends. I'm thinking, we're not friends anyway. We're workplace acquaintances. We don't hang out. And here comes the drama. Typical drama. You know, I used to think you were different, but you're just like everybody. I said, how am I like everybody else? Well, you ignored me, and then you said all that stuff. And I said, so I'm not allowed to be human? I'm not allowed to get offended when you make rude comments? I didn't make it. I said, yes, you did, and you have clearly forgotten. Viewers, I have come to the conclusion that a rational, intelligent man cannot talk to a woman. You cannot do it. They run on emotions. They conveniently forget the stuff that precipitated everything, and they manage to turn it all around and blame it on us men. Ironically, other people in the break room saw this whole thing play out. Other people saw that I had motioned her to come outside, and when I came in, people asked me how'd that go. I said, oh, she doesn't want to be my friend anymore. They said, what? She's the one that started it all. Even my Filipino friend said, you know, I noticed she's got the sour face every day. I said, yep, she won't even look me in the eye and talk to me. She wouldn't even look me in the eye out there and talk to me. And I'm going to say something that may sound racist, and it isn't. She's the typical tough-talking Hispanic woman. She tough-talked at the table. If I had done the speech she did right after I said I'm done with this conversation, any woman could have got up from that table, turned me in. I would have been fired, if not suspended for several days with no pay. I'll tell you what, men have a tightrope to walk in this society that is downright dangerous. For me to go over to that house and try to talk to my son just one-on-one, because of the way he's acting and the way she's poisoned him against me, the way all this has worked, I have been told you stay away from that place. I have never seen such complete denial in all my life. This is a woman who has a psych degree. This is a woman who has way more college than me. I have none. She has a degree in psychology, she has a paralegal, and she is an LPN. She's very good at her professional world, very poor at Life 101. The thing that really bothers me is that these same women go to their respective Christian rock and roll for Jesus churches on the weekend and walk out of there feeling like they're close to God. And you cannot tell them, man, you are so far left of center, lady. I cannot believe how many women out there on the roads are text messaging while driving. A turn arrow comes on and I'm missing a turn arrow because they're texting. Women generally are more selfish than men, more self-exalting than men. Men will do so much for women, and women will just coolly say, well, that's because they're pigs. But at least he's interested in a female and somebody else. When I was talking about Facebook the other day, I wanted to clarify to my male and female viewers, some use Facebook for a legitimate need to keep in contact with people that are far off, relatives and family. We're not putting that down, but most women have made Facebook as a temple unto themselves. And in a generation of people in America that has been so kicked in the balls by feminism, now we have little boys becoming little wussies and becoming very femmy and becoming girly-ish. I saw this taking place in Hong Kong. I told you when I was walking the streets of Hong Kong, I saw a delivery truck, Chinese riding all over it. One of those Isuzu trucks, and glued to the dash were little dollies. I see two wussified, femi anime type Chinese males get in the truck, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dollies. There were the guys that drove delivery trucks that had the sleeveless shirts on, they were muscle bound and they were macho, and then you see this. And you look at boys that are on Facebook and how cutesy they make their page and how femmy everything is. And we sit there and say feminism is not a danger to society. Yes, it is. More boys today are becoming gay. More boys are exploring male-to-male sexuality. Boys are becoming sissified and obsessed with social media. That's a fact. And that is the direct result of women being domineering, women blaming men, and now men have finally learned a lesson, and these young crop of guys are growing up not being men, but being little wussies. Oh, they talk tough, like little girls. They'll call other men bitch. But truthfully, women do come off and act and think and live and carry themselves as if though they are goddesses. We know that not every woman does this, but most in American society sure do. I had a guy tell me yesterday, he says, I have no interest in blonde women. I laughed. I said, they're way overrated, aren't they? When's the last time you saw a good-looking blonde woman who was down to earth, nice, sweet? I haven't met one at all. So the question is, how did we get there? I can only throw out some ideas. The corporate industry of America has really catered into women. It has taken their sexuality and used that to advertise every product out there. The media. I've been in the break room the other day and I seen The View come on and I looked at every one of those women. None of them have 2-inch breasts, like some of the Filipinas I know. They all got at least 6 to 8 inches of boobs stacked out there. Overpriced, ugly outfits. Flaky, substanceless, legs crossed. And I go, gosh, American men go crazy over women like that, and they do absolutely nothing for me. And they get paid a big fat sum of money. The next time a woman tells you that women are not paid the way men are, say, yeah, you're right. Women are paid just because they're good looking. And that is not fair. That is inequality of the highest order. We have seen, males have seen sexual discrimination against them all the time in American business. And women scream and yell that they're not getting paid enough, and yet you look at the money they do get, and I will tell you that more women than not are in debt today, and I'm actually meeting a lot of men who are not in debt today. When I find that men keep their trucks and cars cleaner than most women inside and houses, most single guys that live alone actually keep themselves quite tidy. Yes, there are male pig slobs. I love the pictures on this dating site, women sitting in a pile of clutter in the kitchen, or women that take pictures of themselves in the bathroom with the bathroom stall behind them. I'm like, yeah. Or wearing some cheap, nasty, bedraggled outfit. If a man posts himself standing in a pair of sweatpants with a t-shirt off, women will go, that's such a gross picture. Oh my gosh. If a woman can pull up her greasy, matted hair in a tie and wear a shirt with no bra that you know she's worn for 2 days in a row. There's a woman at work, and somebody said to me, she thinks she's hot, and she's very good looking, but she has no substance. She wears the same pair of jeans every single day, and the reason I notice is it's got all the jewels and the sexy design on the butt end. No, I'm not looking at her butt. I thought she wears those pair of jeans every single day. And why do they get away with it? Because guys are looking at their sexualness. It's funny, if I were to wear the same pair of jeans every day, the women would notice that and they would make a comment. Man, Mike, you're wearing the same pants every day. Come on, man. Am I speaking the truth here, viewers? Women are the religion of the United States. And women can't get what they want. They become even more selfish. And they start saying, I don't need a man. I'll just use a vibrator or go get a female. Women have the upper hand in some aspects in American society of crushing males. It's interesting when you study the attributes of God, and there are times when I've gotten mad. I said, you know, God, sometimes I get tired of it. It's all about your glory. Even if we suffer and hurt and all this, it's all about us glorifying you. And you don't have the pain and the stuff we do because you're in your glorified excellency. But yet I stop myself and say, God may require your absolute all, but he gave and gives and provides. And what do American women do today? take and spend on themselves and get in debt and blame and accuse and project and ruin and destroy children and men and exes and problems. We know there's bad men out there, but the problem is things are so out of balance today that we have to focus in on the female dynamic, specifically in Western nations. When you compile all this data together, women really do think that they're deity, really do think that they're goddesses. And let me remind people of a few things that will shred that. Every woman, whether she's ugly or pretty, sits on the toilet and lets out a stink every time she takes a dump. Every woman, when she's menstruating, bleeds and smells like the dickens. Women wake up with bad breath. Women have BO. Women need to shave their underarms, and women need to maintain every square inch of that body or they will not look good at all. That is a fact. Deity doesn't have to do that. Deity doesn't do that. Deity doesn't need a razor blade. Deity doesn't sit on a toilet. Deity doesn't have bad breath. Deity doesn't narcissist over itself. And even the deity of God the Father gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Name one thing one woman has done in American society that has truly been giving, to the point of saving lives. When it comes to valor, when it comes to heroism, it's men who stand up and save lives, not women, as a general prevailing statistical rule. It's interesting in this age of adamant equality that women still expect men to hold open doors, but they don't have to hold them for us. I could go on, but I believe I've clearly made my point. Women are not goddesses, and yet they have definitely and truly set themselves up to be so. And with modern day internet, we have an entire world built on cyber fluff. Pull the plug, pull the power supply all around the world, and an entire woman's kingdom disappears at the flip of a circuit breaker. Everything a woman's built is all on Fluffville. Most women I know that have the good life did not earn it themselves. It was at the sacrifice of a male who pulled down the good money. And I watch women take ownership of the house that he paid for and walk around like they're hot stuff. And it's like, you didn't lift a finger for any of this, toots. I grew up in my own family of watching the men get berated. My dad, my grandpa, and they both had their problems, but they provided so that the wives could stay home. They bought and or built and or financed or mortgaged the house, and they paid for it all. And what did the women give them in return? In the case of my mother, Dad tries to hug her, pushes him away, sleeps in separate bedrooms. And you call that love? Puts him down in front of us kids. Puts him down for his missing teeth and the way he sounds when he eats. I grew up watching such contempt from my mother towards my father. I didn't see any love modeled out in that house ever. But we always celebrated Christmas and trees and crap and dogs and, oh yeah, and company came over and Mother was the classic fake artist. And when the company left, it was stern talk to me, stern talk to my sister, and the dragnet of oppression settled in once again. That's why I liked it when relatives came to visit. There was some freedom. And when I saw their car or camper truck pull out of our driveway, I was sad, like, ooh, now we got to be alone with Mom and Dad. Yikes. My mother's a classic example of everything I talk about. Everything is everybody else's fault, but never hers. That she adopted a kid that she abused and put down and tore down all her life to the point of me having grave, can I even say the word, neurological problems for years? Feeling like every time something happened out there in public that was somehow connected to me being at fault. And it took me years to say, no, that person's behaving like a jerk. You didn't do anything. I mention this because I look at the comments when women watch my Feminism is Destroying Western Women, and Western women are destroying themselves, and women write me, mostly from the U.S., oh my gosh, not all women are like this. You can't generalize. You can't. Did you listen to what I said, lady? Or did you take the perfume bottles and the hairspray bottles out of your ears? Women don't like hearing the kind of truth that comes from a man's mouth that implicates them. Remember Martha Stewart? She got caught in that insider stock trading. Busted. And she said, I will be exonerated. How about if you just admit it? She's a multi-million-dollar empire. Shame on you, Martha. And then she complained about being in jail. And do you know what her jail was? Complete with embroidered M towels. Country club prison. What a joke. What a joke. No shame. Back to her show. All the ding-dong women that like her go, oh, Martha's back. Does anybody remember Regis and Kathy Lee? My ex-wife used to tell me she's a Christian woman. Kathy Lee would talk about Hollywood and talk about Halloween and had her kids dressed up in Halloween costumes. And Kathy Lee was always showing cleavage. Always, always, always. She was a complete flake. Her husband, Frank Gifford, had an affair. And, of course, she was so distraught. And I thought, man, if I lived with a bimbo like that, she'd drive me nuts. They had several houses. But she'd always work that Jesus in on every program. And I thought, she disgusts me to no end. When you looked at somebody like Kathy Lee Gifford, you couldn't tell any difference from her and anybody else out there. Women are basically unteachable today. The only women that I know that are teachable are those that are truly led under the Holy Spirit. And there's not many of them. Venus Star is, Maharani is, Larissa, several women that get on my channel are teachable. They're able to reflect and look at themselves. They're able to be gracious. They're able to say the words, I am sorry. I'm 48 years old. Most of my life has been spent putting women on a pedestal. Did you hear that, my troll friends? Why? Because we've been cultured that way. Man's been taught, it's been ingrained in him. You see a man beating on a woman, what's the man supposed to do? Oh, that's wrong. But we never stop and say, but what did that woman do to provoke that man to such a rage? Maybe we need to stay out of it. Best thing you do is call 911 and let the authorities sort it out. I've heard of men trying to save a woman in a fight, only to find out that she turned on him as well. Not wise to get in the middle of that. The Bible says, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath. Bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. That verse does not just apply to children. It applies to women with men and men with women. And women provoke men big time. I'll never forget some crusty guy at a factory. Said, how is it that women can do all this SHIT to everybody and then come out smelling like a DAMN rose? I laughed. I thought, boy, I understand that one. I start to understand why men are cynical. I understand now why men refer to her as the old lady and start using derogatory terms. They've had enough. Did you know that? And you know what? It's getting worse and worse and worse. When you look at poster children women out there like Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Paris Hilton, the Kardashians, and you go, this is the standard of popular? This is the standard? This is the bar that we're going to base things on? These women are so damaged within, so obsessed with themselves and narcissistic, you cannot hold a mirror of truth up to them. They will look away or punch the mirror and shatter it. Look at the examples I gave to you viewers about women writing and dogging me and justifying their sins, inappropriate dressing, foul attitude, profanity. And why was that? Because I called her out. We are actually living in a time where reason, common sense, and biblical truth does not work on women anymore. It does not. The only women that are receptive to that are the ones that are spirit-led. I find it funny when women, even my ex, will say, oh, that guy doesn't have any of the fruit of the Spirit. And I turn around and go, and neither do you, ever. If you don't believe me, watch how angry they get when you critique them. The fruit of the Spirit just comes rolling out of their lips at that point. Something is wrong with the church in America that keeps coddling these women. They come to church on Sunday dressing their finest, and men are taught to be wussies and all polite around them. And I'm going to tell you something. Today's women need to have their toes stepped on. They're not deity. They're not goddesses. And just because they're a Christian does not give them a free pass to play that hide behind the veneer of I'm godly or not wallboard that they're hiding behind. Women are very narcissistic in their spending, in their belief that they're infallible, never wrong, don't have to apologize, in their inability to look firmly into the mirror of truth and see an accurate picture of the sins they do. Yes, women have made themselves, especially with the advent of MySpace turning into Facebook and all this other stuff, it has become their own personal temple religion of exalting and drawing nothing but attention to themselves. Look at every music video put out by a female and tell me what is the dominant theme. Suggestive dressing. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And that's how people have been lured in America. Music is powerful. It affects us deeply. And if you don't believe me, read about Nebuchadnezzar when he demanded everybody worship him when they heard the sound of all the instruments playing. Music is still doing the same thing. Women can sing a trite, flaky, superficial piece of garbage lyrical content song, but because they're showing boobs and booty, it'll get millions of views and rise to the top of the charts. Don't tell me women haven't made their own temple religion to themselves. The goddess worship was prevalent in Greek culture, and it was not just mythology. It was religion. The goddess worship hasn't left. It's all about women, don't you know? It's all about women. Today's Christian woman from Beth Moore, even her own book, It's Not About Me. Oh, it is about her. She's $1 million empire. Don't kid yourself. Dyed complete with dyed hair and acting just like every other worldling out there. I'm not satisfied with the hair God gave me. When you look at how much women spend on their own selfishness and then they make themselves look worse, you got to go, what is going on? It's spiritual, folks. It's spiritual. People are being drawn away from true godliness, true inner character, true inner quality, and true natural beauty to buy into a cosmetic, synthesized, produced, homogenized lie. And women then turn around and say, you don't know me. Oh, I know every American woman because they're all copying each other. I've seen the mainframe blueprint. I've seen the pattern, and it's all the same. This is Pacific. Signing off. Bye-bye.